I'm Keyoka, the Awkward Black Nomad. My channel, if you are new here, my channel is for Black women who want to travel more or maybe even live abroad. I talk about my experiences traveling as a digital nomad, bringing my dogs around the world with me. And sometimes I also interview other Black women who either live a nomadic life or actually live abroad. I'm going to remind you as you come into the room to like the video, pretty please. That would be awesome. And drop down in the comment section, say hello. Black folk, we speak when we come into the room. So let me know you're there. If you have any questions for our guest today, please put a Q in front of your question. And what am I going to say? I guess I should introduce you a little bit. Let me just bring her up. Let me bring her up. Hi, Alicia.
Hi.
This is a chaotic beginning, but I've been out of the YouTube streets for a minute, taking a nice little holiday break. So I haven't done anything, any content. So I'm kind of unprepared. It's like figuring out what to say after being on hiatus. I'm like, hi everybody, just hi.
Yeah, it's great. It's funner when it's just off the cuff anyways.
But if you guys recognize our guest today, this is Alicia. So we met her in Denmark. I have another interview with her on my channel, and she recently accepted a position in Sweden. So I thought, why not bring her on to just talk about that experience? So yeah, Alicia is originally Canadian. Okay, so some of the differences between being a U.S. citizen versus a Canadian citizen may apply here. I think when we originally talked in our first video, you were staying in Denmark because of some kind of partnership that
I had a visa, yeah. I had a working holiday visa.
A working holiday visa. So we found out that that is actually only that doesn't apply to U.S. citizens, but it's something that's exclusive to Canadians. They have different kinds, other partnership visa, working holiday visas, but for different countries. So I guess let's jump in. For people who didn't see my other interview with you, why were you in Denmark?
I was just in Denmark because I wanted to live in Scandinavia, and it was between Sweden and Denmark was actually my second choice, but their visa process was a little bit more streamlined and quicker, so that's what kind of brought me to Denmark.
Hey, Canada. That is so small. Let me fix that. Real time editing, everybody. It's a new program. It's a new program. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Hey.
Hi.
Do we know Igami? Do we know? Or is it Egami? Is it Japanese? I don't know. Hi, Angela.
Oh, she's back. That's so nice.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Good afternoon.
New Year.
Cold Atlanta. You think it's cold? What's the temperature in Denmark?
Must be 2 or 3 or 4. It's not so bad.
In Fahrenheit. So in Celsius. So what's that in Fahrenheit?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
Guys, if you haven't realized this, so first of all, my phone is listening to me. But if you have an iPhone, your calculator is now a converter, so you can type in.
Wow.
So it's cold. Look, it's cold as hell. Basically, it's freezing. This is you're just casually. Yeah. Oh, it's 2. No. It's the Arctic tundra. But I said my phone is. Yeah. I opened it up. It already had Fahrenheit and Celsius, and I wasn't looking that up previously. But anyways, hello from London. Sorry. I'm having my first cup of coffee this morning, everybody.
Yeah, no, that was cute. It was cute.
This is why you make friends with people who are your people, okay?
Yeah.
This is a lesson. in real time. In real time.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's literally so funny.
we're gonna be serious and we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about what we came here to talk about today. All right, so we're gonna start with some preliminary questions. You stayed in Denmark. You were on a working holiday visa, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Esther's coming away. Hi, Esther. Hi, everybody. Uh, if you missed my opening remarks, say hi. Black folk, we speak when we come into the room. You know, I don't know who raised you. My grandma, my auntie, everybody always told me like, you come into the room, you say hi, right? And also like the video because you like us. So you're in Denmark because I think you visited before. Not me telling your story. I need to ask a question. I'm so
Well, the first I came to Denmark with the for the first time with the visa. Um,
that was the
so
very
I kind
first
of
time.
yeah, I had already had my visa and yeah, I was just like trialing it in a way and then like seeing if I could really commit to it. Um, but it just yeah, the visa just allows you to work, so that's handy.
So you didn't do like a scouting trip. You had never visited there before. You were just like,
I got the visa and then I went like I went there for 6 weeks and then went back home and then went again for 6 weeks and then went back home. Yeah, because I just wasn't sure if I was ready to commit to Denmark. So and then just like allowed me to like put some roots down, like try to meet people, see what like everything was like, and I ended up like really liking Denmark. So it all just kind of worked out, fortunately. But yeah, but now we're leaving, so
it's
it's
okay.
fine.
But I'm thinking about previous conversations. But anyways, um, so so how did you know that your path to living abroad was going to be working abroad? Because some people will say like, "Oh, you should just be an entrepreneur." Oh, like
Mm,
if you have enough money invested, you could live off of your, investments. I mean, I think this is an important conversation to have because you and I we're in our early 30s, right? So like technically we have several more years of work ahead of us.
yeah, we
Like,
do.
right? So like I think like sometimes when people talk about like moving abroad, they're often like a little bit older or closer to like retirement age, so it seems more feasible. But it's pretty courageous, right? To be in your early 30s or be younger than that and say like I want to live in another country, let me figure out a pathway to get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, going back to my question,
Um,
how did you
mhm.
know that like you were gonna go and work abroad? Like, was that always your intention? Did you have any other like plans?
Yeah, like I think it was a bit of a mix. Like I knew I wanted to take a break from my career and sort of reevaluate what I wanted. But then also, it's like you can't just stay in a country without a visa. So, um, you do need to, and I think the easiest way is to have a company sponsor you. Um, and yeah, so like I'm not at like, retirement status yet. So of course I still need to work and make a living for myself. But I was able to take a break and not work for a little while, which was really nice. Um, and I think like with wanting to live abroad, I had already done it, and it was kind of like a calling. I feel, and I just feel like my soul was. I love Canada, but my soul was somewhere else, and um, yeah, I kind of just once I think one, I turned 30 and I was feeling sort of unfulfilled with my life, even though I had accomplished sort of all the societal norms. I didn't feel like I was truly living in alignment with what I wanted for my life. And then two, I think COVID really opened your eyes because you suddenly were I think you had I had a different appreciation for life and opportunities, and like we lost 3 years off of our lives. And so I think just like I kind of like woke up and I was like, okay, I've been working at the same job for almost 10 years. I've worked nowhere else. And like, what is something I've like always wanted to do? And once we could travel again, it just like kind of sparked my passion for wanting to live abroad and to work. I kind of use those like simultaneously because like I yeah, I mean, lucky for other people if they are, have reached a status to not have to work, but I haven't.
Well, they say if you marry well, that,
Yeah.
it affords you a certain lifestyle, but
Yeah. Also, not there yet. So,
but you're right, you're right. Like COVID, we lost so much time, and I think like it's like you wake up one morning and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm in my 30s. Like what happened?" I still feel like I'm I should be doing something. Like if like it's like you wake up one day
Mm.
when you're 30, you're supposed to be having like you're supposed to be settled and established and have done all these amazing things, and then you look around and you're like, "Wait a second. I haven't done those things or time is running out, you know?" Um
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like I was established and I had accomplished, a decent amount of things that I needed to, but I feel like my true like dream hadn't been accomplished.
Mm.
The practicalities of life had been figured out. But now we've hit the reset button, and you kind of have to re-establish yourself altogether. And yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to put down some roots in Sweden and have a little bit more of a long-term permanent stay.
So
But yeah, we'll get into like job
how did you initially prepare?
search.
So you got the visa,
I got
um,
yeah.
and then your job, did you just like you were just like, bye y'all.
Yeah, I resigned
Mhm.
and like I think I had like a really good relationship with my manager, so I think she really understood that me wanting to explore a different a different avenue. And yeah, they were all like really encouraging. So I think I was in sort of like a good position to pivot.
Mm, yeah. I Angela, be safe. Up to a foot of snow, but I'm more concerned about the possibility of ice. Be safe. Gosh, snow.
Negative, it's okay.
But so yeah, so like in your preparation, it was so you let the job go and you fully had
Mhm.
the intention of being unemployed for a certain amount of time. When
Yeah.
you were planning this out, how long did you give yourself to be unemployed?
I wanted to only best case scenario, I wanted to only be unemployed for like 6 months. Um, but I was prepared to be unemployed for longer if something didn't work out or um, yeah. I mean, of course, like financial planning, is important, and your risk level has to be sort of use your own discernment. And some people are really good at just like flying off the cuff and being like, I have this much money and I'm just going to go for it. And, they can work that way. But I think I'm a little bit more conservative. So I just really wanted to make sure that I was financially prepared to come up to deal with whatever I needed to deal with um,
That
for
makes
a long time.
that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you answered this, but like so the working holiday visa allowed you to stay in Denmark for how long?
So you get 1 year, and then you can stay another 90 days um, past your visa. So you get like the regular tourist visa afterwards.
Okay. That's a lot of time. So you were just like, I have this money set aside. I'm gonna go to Denmark,
Mhm.
figure it out. I'm giving myself at least 6 months, but I have some wiggle
Yeah.
room in case I stay longer or need to,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Yeah.
so good. That's awesome. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's awesome.
That was lucky. Sorry.
No, it's fine. You're so popular. It's okay. Um,
Just,
just kidding. What?
everyone from Canada is waking up now.
Oh, Yeah, that makes sense. So what kind of work do you do? What field are you in?
So I'm in fashion. So I think like that is a worldwide global industry. So I think I'm lucky there where um, there's lots of fashion brands like here in Scandinavia or, in Europe. So at least I had sort of like a broad range of companies that I could look into. I am quite specialized, so that was sort of like a hindrance, but also I had a competitive edge. And then I'll just kind of keep the company that I was working for confidential, but it was also global, so I had at least a little bit of like reputation behind me. Um, so that also helped.
So when you say fashion, like what is it? Because I was trying to
Yeah.
explain to someone what you do, and I don't think I was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I went to school for fashion design, and then I became a materials developer. So I develop fabrics from scratch. So we take an idea, and then we work with mills around the world to create a like customized fabric. Um,
That's like
yeah,
really
that's essentially
cool.
what we do.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've definitely been afforded a lot of like great opportunities. I've got to travel a lot because of that and make a lot of connections and go to trade shows. So I think, if you're new in your career, I would say use all of those tools a little bit more than I did. I feel like I could have networked a little bit more while I was at my last company, but um, now we know what's important.
That's a cool job.
Thanks.
Angela says that's so bold. I love that for you, Alicia.
Thank you. Yeah, it was tough, but yeah, it was definitely worth it. And I think the experience has been a roller coaster, but I think when you're following your dream, you will just naturally be more happy and be able to like, take on more because you're sort of like in alignment for what you truly wanted in your life. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
definitely recommend.
Sika, I see your question, but I'm gonna hold it while we talk about something else for a second. Um, so so I think one of the concerns, especially in Scandinavia or Europe in general, right, is that they have within the EU, there's such a pretty large pool of candidates. Did you feel
Mhm.
coming from Canada that it would be more competitive for you to get a role just because, there's a lot of English speakers, there may be a lot of people who do that job that are already there and are EU citizens?
Mm, so I'd say like not a lot of people do my job because it's so specialized. It's like a lot of companies actually can't afford a materials developer, so it would be that would be into another job. So like maybe a product developer or a buyer is often what they call it here. Um, so I think it was more or less like companies just don't have that position available. Um, and yeah, I think in these times, like everywhere is competitive. I've really tried to not worry about sort of the outside candidates or world, to be honest, because I think like it can just put such a hindrance on your. Yeah, there's a cat. Sorry. I think it can just like put such an outside hindrance on how you navigate sort of living abroad, trying to find a job. Um, and so I've really just tried to like zone in on my own skill set and make them translatable. So that's how I was kind of saying it has a hindrance because what I do is so niche, but then not a lot of people do it. So that gave me an advantage. And then I had a credible company. So at least it got me indoors. Um, but it, yeah, didn't always like come to fruition, which is okay.
I hope y'all are taking notes. Okay. Because she said something so important. Let me tell you, in this job hunt process, and that's whether or not you're in the US or you're trying to work abroad, your mindset Your mindset is what's going to get you through the door. Okay, I love that. I love that. Um, so I guess my next question would be like, what was your process for finding out about your specific field abroad? What kind of research did you do to see if your role in Canada would transition internationally?
Um, so I guess like um, even if my role couldn't translate internationally, I knew it gave me the specialization gave me like an edge, I would say. So it was really more, I think, and this is all sort of in hindsight, but I think it was really more how can I make my skills translatable and sort of making myself of value, even though I had been doing one thing for so long. So it was like I kind of really had to like, even for me, it was like challenging because I had to remember kind of like going back to school, like what I would do. And then I'd have to like think about all the different moving parts that at my last job that I could pull on. Um, yeah, sorry, what was your question again?
No, it's okay. You're doing good. You're answering the question because basically, like thinking how the things that you were already doing at your previous job, how they could be applicable in a new role, even if it wasn't exactly what you were doing with the same job title. Is that what you?
Yeah, yeah. So I think I would try to like market myself as like, okay, I have a fashion degree. I've grown the business with my specialization in dollar amounts, like so that it was like I had concrete examples of like what my impact was and how I could bring that into the company. And I particularly found it hard to like interview too, because interviewing is just so nerve wracking. And um, but I think like my friends and my family, they would always kind of remind me that like your value is just like literally what you make it. Like nobody knows. So you can really just like draw from all of your experiences and just like almost like generalize it and just like make it seem not so specific. Like, everyone needs project management skills. Everyone needs some sort of like calendar management. Um, there's not one company I didn't interview for who didn't want those and didn't have calendar issues or stakeholder management or collaboration, like all of those things, like you do probably in any role. It was just that you have the added benefit of like, oh, I can do this one specialized thing that you don't have in house, and this is how I can like be of value to you. It doesn't always land, but like that's sort of like the what I was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, you have to pitch yourself.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Nick Jones says, "If it's for you, it's for you." That's a word.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
word.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, Melissa. Hey, hey, girl. Hey. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Angela, yeah, you're so right. Like a lot of people, it took so much courage for me to, yeah, leave a job without another job.
Mhm.
But a part of this journey was to truly take a break, um, and to like really take a step back because I was not even sure I wanted to remain in the fashion industry. Um, and it was really to like experience life as well. Like it wasn't just this like, okay, I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid and just like see what happens. There was that level of it because you kind of have to let it go once you make the decision. Um, and I was just like really fortunate to have cheerleaders around me, a really good community that I had built here in Denmark, and also I had it in Canada. And yeah, I I have like friends that are entrepreneurs. So they were like, you just kind of need to do it. If this is what you want, then you need to do it. And I wasn't really, while I was at my last job, I had already started the process. So that meant like going on LinkedIn, talking to people, trying to like, set up coffee meetings, whether they're virtual or when I would come to Copenhagen, I would just like try to meet people. And so I had started the process while I was employed, and then when I wasn't employed, um, I just could like I knew exactly what I needed to do, I guess, and I had already like set up a little bit of a foundation, so I wasn't just like throwing fully myself into it. Like I had done little baby steps along the way to set myself up. And then I've been really fortunate enough to be financially stable enough to support my unemployment. And I think that is what truly gave me the grace to go on this journey. I think if I didn't have the financial stability or like preparation, then it would be a different story. But I had planned for unemployment and therefore could really lean into it,
Yeah, definitely.
if that all makes sense.
You did, and you're very courageous. So Igami asked, was it Scandinavian style and fashion that inspired you to live in Sweden? So she's currently in Denmark. You've
Yeah.
tiptoed in Sweden a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So Stockholm was like one of my favorite cities. When I lived in Germany, I had met a Swede and then I dated a Swede for a long time.
You see, I
And that's when
for this, she just tells her business. We weren't even gonna talk.
I, it was like 10 years ago. It's just a fun story now, move abroad, fall in love.
Period.
Like, go have some fun.
Period. Okay.
But that's really what that was the first thing that brought me to Sweden. And yeah, like I said, it was like 10 years ago. So, but I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like I love this city. Um, and um, yeah, and I was like, great, like, you're dating Swede, eventually you'll maybe move, and that's perfect. And then then time passed and it didn't work out, and pivoted as life does, and then COVID hit, and I was like, okay, I guess this is just what it is. Um, yeah, so it was, and then eventually, yeah, then just like circling back to like when I really knew I wanted to move to, that's what really like started the spark, and um, yeah, I literally just like love Sweden, and I couldn't move there for a year, which was fine. I pivoted, went to Denmark, loved Denmark, and then got a job in Sweden, and now I am going there. So life has like a weird shift.
Yeah, it's beautiful though. Hi,
Yeah.
Amina. Hi, everybody. I'm sure Angela is clapping because you're telling your business. Um,
it's
I'm sure.
it's a fun fact, is it not?
CK wants to know, did you get a 6 month lease since you only planned for 6 months? I feel like you have an interesting living situation.
Uh,
How much that you want
a
to
6 months
share?
lease. I didn't sign a lease. I just was renting month to month. Um, but if I had to do it again, I would recommend a lease or some sort of contract. And maybe that's like a hot tip too for wherever people want to like live and work is make sure you know your rights as a foreigner, and um, yeah, a contract is would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the job hunt. So you did a little bit of research in the market. You talked about networking. So
Yeah.
I want to say we talked about this a little bit in the last video. In Denmark, networking is like huge, like very much how you know who you know, and
Hmm.
like so in your process, did you find that in Europe that was just such a big thing?
Yeah, and and that's how I think I I can't remember how I figured out what I needed to do to try to find a job, but somewhere along the way, someone told me like you have to network, you have to go on LinkedIn. Um, And so I think like yeah, researching how people like interact within the job force is obviously important, so you can like actively, successively find a job. And yeah, I remember feeling kind of alarmed that like strangers will go on coffee meetings with other strangers. Um, so yeah, I think I had to really just, that was a change, and I had to like put myself out there. And um,
It's intimidating.
it's a little intimidating, and it's just not really something you do in Canada. I feel maybe people do. I just hadn't, and I don't know if people do that in the states, or maybe the city. Each city is different, but um, yeah. So started my networking journey on LinkedIn, and then I found lots of events to go to. I found it particularly difficult to get into the fashion industry, um, and often no one even knew anyone who was in the fashion industry. So yeah, so I still don't feel like I really cracked the code on how to get into the fashion industry here in Denmark. Um, but I did meet a few people along the way, who were helpful. And I think people in Denmark respect boldness. And so when I did take bolder moves, um, it was well received. So
A bold move.
um, yeah, like I would never message like a CEO or anything like that. But I did, because I was like on a mission. I need to get a job. I need to, I can't stay in the country. And I'm not ready to go home. So um yeah, and I feel like LinkedIn is really how I got into the market somewhat.
Jasmine says she did in the States, but she doesn't know about others. I've heard, I feel like I feel like LinkedIn in the last couple of years has gotten big, and I
Mhm.
people say that like LinkedIn is the future, like because people are
Yeah.
want to network more. Um I know at least in my industry people network a lot, but I'm an introvert, so networking is difficult and I don't particularly enjoy it. So,
Yeah. No, it is difficult, and I was really intimidated, and it's not something I ever really saw myself doing. Like I would love my LinkedIn to be plain and blank. Like I would love to remain anonymous.
right.
Um, but that is just like simply not how you move.
So what kind
Like it's
of
just simply not how you move when you want to change careers or whatever.
updates did you make to your LinkedIn that you felt like were beneficial? Like what kind of things were you doing to it?
Yes, I just made sure like all of my um like work experience was up to date, all my skills were up to date. I did pay for premium so that I could like message people freely. Um and yeah, making sure like um there's like that like subtitle is like is accurate to you and to what jobs you want to attract. So I wanted to track like sustainability and like product development and material development. So I just tried to like orchestrate something to encompass what I actually wanted to do and what would I would get like promotions for. Um, if you feel bold enough, then update your location. That makes a really big difference. People want to know, especially here in Copenhagen, that you're going to stay in Denmark and that you are here. Um, and like I said, I got way more interviews being in Copenhagen than looking for jobs while in Canada.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like I really just like went down the TikTok deep dark hole, and there's like it's just like a wealth of information, and I followed a lot of the tutorials on TikTok to have like a really good LinkedIn. And um, some of the networking events I went to had recruiters, so I would have like coffee meetings, and then they would look over my resume and my LinkedIn, and they were like create a story. And you have to be Yeah, I don't know. It's like they really want to see a friendly face. So it's like I had to add a photo, which I was really apprehensive to doing
To your
because,
resume?
you know, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, really apprehensive to doing that. And that's just like not something you do. I mean, it's illegal in Canada. So um, I think because it's like discriminatory. Maybe it's not illegal, but it's not recommended. Um, but yeah, so just like things like that, like you want to get like some like local eyes on your resume and your LinkedIn, and just like yeah, sort of trying to like accommodate the local standards or you know what the what the people are doing. You want to sort of like acclimate in a way, um, so that you're attracting these companies, but you're not like you know washing yourself out because you still want to be recognized and have some difference, but.
Mhm. So other than LinkedIn, what other sort of sites have you used to in your
Um, That's really all I use. Like there was a few other, I think there's like Job Index, but I didn't use it because I felt like it was overwhelming and I didn't like it. Um, and I had heard that like most companies prefer if you just message the recruiter or the hiring manager on LinkedIn, and that they're often not even like fully reviewing these resumes that they get. So I was really focused on just like building connections because like the more people that knew me and knew what I was looking for is how I could get out there.
even like for job postings, you were using LinkedIn to see what was
Yeah.
available. Okay.
Yeah, I think like I did 100% LinkedIn. That's where I found every job that I applied for was through LinkedIn. Um, and then some people would send me some things. Engagement is also really good. I wasn't so good at that. I like posting on LinkedIn frequently, but I would recommend doing that because then you'll LinkedIn will like promote your profile. Um, what else? I feel like events, networking events, is helpful. Exhausting, but it's all quite exhausting, but worth it. It's just like looking for a job just becomes your job. So whether you are working or you're looking, it's exhausting no matter what. So,
That's true.
um, yeah,
That's
as
very
you know,
um
yeah.
so like what challenges did you have while on your job search? Was there anything that like was unexpected in the process?
Um, yeah, I feel like I didn't think it was going to be so hard. Um, I It also took longer than I expected. Um, and I think yeah, like I was really when I would try to get feedback, it was always just like I'm just so specialized. So that kind of like goes back to like the marketing aspect. Like I was doing it like in real time, so I think it was like harder for me to like master. But I think it got better like towards the end when I was already employed. So
Hmm. And
yeah, I
well,
go
I,
ahead.
I think too, like even if a person is aiming to be an entrepreneur, I feel like oftentimes the positions that we have kind of pigeonhole us in a way of like even just thinking about what we do in our role. So it's like
Yeah,
the whatever it is, I'll use me as an example. Like I'm a senior copywriter, so I can't do web design, even though in like previous positions I have done web design, right? So like if I'm thinking about myself as a business, I could market myself in a way that promotes web design, even though I've never held that title, right? So it kind of like changes the way you think about the work that you have actually done versus the job title you've been given, and
yeah,
really breaking it down to like skill level, like what skills do you have, what have you done previously that has like driven results, and how can any company use that, right? Like even if you didn't work in fashion, it's like you said before, like you've done project management, you've done like the other things to even if you didn't get into fashion, maybe you work for a trucking company or like or like shipping import. Like it's something random, but your skills are translatable no matter where you are. Hmm.
Yeah, no, exactly. Um, I also just think it was like, yeah, I think that there's like the climate right now of or maybe I think it's gonna hopefully it's changing, 2025, we're here now. Um, but I think it's just been like highly competitive. So it's like, why would they hire someone who is potentially like trained in this exact thing and then or me, So I think it sometimes just like came down to that. Um, and yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
Uh, did you encounter any sort of language barriers while interviewing?
No, everyone. I mean, I was mostly applying to international companies. Um, so they were speaking English anyways. And the smaller ones, I often didn't hear back from. So I think maybe those ones they were expecting Danish. Um, Another thing that people can do is, especially if you're in Europe, is you can just call the hiring manager and ask them questions about the position, which is also so scary.
Scary.
Um, yeah, it's really scary, but it does make a difference. And I think one question I would just lean into is like, what is the company culture like? I mean, say it in your own words. That's like most comfy for you, but um, at least you can just like generic question, but that needs a specific answer.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
it's just like you have that one question, you can kind of just like it feels like you kind of have a little bit of a cushion to land when you make the call. But yeah, so language, I don't feel like it was a barrier. But of course, it depends like where you are and what industry you're in. So maybe if I was in Spain, it would be different.
Mm.
Um,
Have you had anyone require you to like learn another language in the application process? Like, we were hoping for a client who spoke Danish. Would you be open to learning the language, something like that?
no, no one mentioned that. There was one company that I applied for, but I was late to applying to it, and so the recruiter was like, "They do want someone who speaks Danish," but at that point, it didn't matter. I was like kind of like late to the party, so
Mhm.
um, yeah. But I also think like lean into it, like you can just be like, well, I'm learning the language now that I'm here. But does your company offer lessons? Because that's something I would be interested in taking and learning, and you're happy to acclimate to the culture. So I think just lean into it and show that like you're open and you're like ready to like receive anything they can give to you. And um, I think like literally you are also interviewing the company. So I think like we always forget that when we're kind of like in these times of like, okay, I need a job. And so much is like riding on whether you get this job or not. But, if it's not a good fit, then it sucks for everyone. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that's a benefit they should offer, like you're
I
happy to
agree.
work for them, but yeah, and like I think that's such a great incentive and it speaks to a supportive culture, which is what everyone needs, you know. I think literally everyone like please go into a company that will make you happy. It's just not worth, 40 hours a week of pain or more, depending on your industry. So,
No, that's very true. And I think that's, I would like to say that's a millennial thing that, like, or maybe it's just like a post COVID thing, right? That, like,
mhm.
you're not suffering for a paycheck anymore,
Yeah.
right? Because,
Yeah. There's just no need
ex-
either.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so it sounds like, I mean, I don't know what I was expecting when I sat down to have this interview, but it sounds like the job hunting process is really similar no matter where you are. Could you
Yeah.
compare it to looking for a job in Canada versus like in Europe? Other than
Yeah,
yeah.
I think when I started this like journey, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put my LinkedIn as like open to recruiters, but only recruiters because I didn't want my company to know I was looking for a job naturally.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, okay, like it's time to start getting interview experience. Like it doesn't matter if it's in Canada, the States, or Denmark. It just you need to sort of like get that skill going. Um, and so, yeah, I had interviewed with American companies, Canadian companies, and European, and it was all very similar. I would say Denmark had like always had a vibe check interview. Um, yeah, which I feel is I really appreciated because it was less about your skill set, but more about your personality and how you would blend in. Um, and But other than that, it all kind of was, like, pretty much the same, I would say. I found, like, Americans, they just, like they're I always had, like, a fun interview with Americans, and with Canadians, the industry is so small in Vancouver that, it was like, "Oh, do you know this person? I used to work with them," and so it was more like a connection thing. And then, like, as I progressed into the interview stages, it then became more technical.
Mm,
So,
okay.
yeah, but in general, I think if you can interview before you move abroad, whether regardless of the country, I think you should just do it and like really get that skill fine tuned, or just like, um, yeah, because it's tough. I feel like I was like some interviews I was really shaky for, or yeah.
Yeah. Like getting prepared just
Yeah.
even in like not expecting to anything to come from the interview, but just like exercising your
Mhm.
ears almost and like
Yeah,
getting feedback. Yeah.
yeah,
What kind of
exactly,
questions
and
to ask?
mhm,
Hmm.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So could you describe the sort of work visa process? How does that go? How do you, first of
Mhm.
all, how do you know if a company is going to even sponsor you a visa?
I mean, once they know that you're not from Denmark, it's, almost assumed that I mean,
Well, because
I
they ask on the application, like they ask on the application, I think there's a question like, will you need a visa for this position? Have you ever been like hesitant to check yes? Like, because, or do you feel like it just weeds out companies that won't sponsor the visa if you just answer that?
I don't it's really hard to tell, like, any international company, it's gonna be fine. You just like, they have processes to in any country to get a working visa. And then with the new company that I'm working with, they have a third party, like a mobility team, and some companies do as well, um, that support the visa. So they will just like do all the legwork and facilitate the whole thing. So, um, getting the Swedish work visa was, in my case, it was quite streamlined, um,
So you actually
especially since
went through this mobility team to get the visa? Like,
yeah, because the company that I'll be working for uses a mobility like a third party mobility team. Sorry, they don't have one in-house, but
mhm.
a lot of companies do. And so they're just like experts in visas. So,
So it wasn't something you
I
had to kind of figure out yourself.
no, not that part. When I first moved to Denmark, that is I figured it out. Um, but for this job, they basically just like ask for all of your information, and do the whole application for you. They are basically doing it on your behalf. So you are giving them permission to act as you, and then you're just providing all the information. They do all the paperwork. There's like, of course, there's fees part of it, but the company usually, or a company will subsidize it. And then, yeah,
Okay.
so it's been, that part has been relatively simple. And even my working holiday visa wasn't so difficult either. But I think that really comes down to um, where your passport is from, because the world is still flawed, and what your expertise is in, and expert or not, and like educated, and like all those like little things.
Mm, okay. We have a
So,
question. Jasmine asked, "Do you feel Europe was more or less open to transferable skills compared to the US or Canada?"
I'm not sure, because in the US and Canada, I applied to positions that were literally what I was doing. So I didn't go outside of my field. Um, and yeah, yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that.
Hmm.
I think, like, if there's any like learnings I would take, is that um, being able to market myself better is something that I wish I had kind of um, walked in on. But practice makes perfect.
Yeah. I think, and honestly, and maybe this is like just because I've only job hunted in the US, but like there's been times where I know I could do whatever job it is, but maybe I don't have like the direct experience.
Hmm.
Go ahead and lie to those people. Go ahead and lie. Okay. It's the delivery. It is the how you sell yourself is so important. And I work in marketing, and I'll tell you, I can make any person believe that I'm qualified to do something.
That's a skill in itself. Good for you.
It's a skill, but it's like it's a learned skill that comes with, like you said, like going through this interview process and sharpening your knife in a way. Like, okay, they're gonna ask me these questions. Let me pre-prepare answers. Let me practice saying these things and seeing how they're received. Even like even if it's like a job that you don't even want, like go just do the interview just to see what kind of questions they're asking. Like, and you may be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't want to like take away from like my like journey in this job hunt,
Mhm.
but like everyone, if you are new in your career, even in the middle of it, or you want to shift, like, it's all just a game. And like as soon as you can like learn to play the game, you will crack the code. Um,
It's
I've
literally
worked in marketing.
it's first of all, life is an assimilation. Like it's virtual reality. None of this is real. So if you start thinking like that, things are gonna just start falling into your lap because why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah, and like I also just feel like it's so easy to get discouraged and like have all of those feelings, but
Mm,
um, I think like the biggest thing that I've now taken away is like you can do anything. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Don't let anyone make you feel any different. Like cast a little positivity bubble around you, and like do not let anyone into it that isn't gonna like increase the bubble, because people will tell you what you can and cannot do, and it's just simply not true. Like unless you're a doctor, or I don't know, it's just like something like an astronaut. Like I'm not going to go to space. That's something I'm not
no,
going to
I
do.
say this all the time. I could be a doctor. Like being a doctor is no big deal. I say that all the
Yeah.
time.
Okay, that's fair, but I
I'm
mean,
always
like,
like, I'm always like, I could
you're
just
not going to be like tomorrow. You're not going to be like, hey, I don't know. I can't remember what city you live in, but the main hospital, you're not going to be like, "Can I be a
walk.
doctor here?" You're going to go to the university and be like, "I want to apply to med school." So like
The
that takes
only
steps.
reason the only reason I am not a doctor is because I don't want to be. Like, and
Yeah.
I told this before to uh my supervisor before. I was like, because I think he was saying something about like, I'm at this meeting, it's 6 a.m. and
Yeah.
everybody, like, I set the precedence for everybody, like everybody needs to be here at 6 a.m. And I was like, listen, you are the chief marketing officer. I am the senior copywriter. Your
Yeah.
standards and my standards are different. You chose to be the chief marketing officer. If I wanted to do that role, I could, but I don't because it requires a lot. So I
Yeah.
won't be there at 6 a.m., but if you record it, I'll watch it and give my notes.
Got But you know what? I feel like that took me a long time to learn though, is that like I can do anything. Um,
100%.
and like you guys, listen, like I'm not I don't want to say I was like desperate, but I was like, okay, what are the other things that I can explore that will allow me to stay in Europe? Because I just want to be here. Like I'm just a happier person here. Um, And so then, I was like, okay, maybe I can become an entrepreneur. And then I started learning how to make like a pitch deck and a business plan. And like, I think there is just like a level of resourcefulness and like things I had to go through. So I was just like learning new skills, like literally on the fly. Um, and I think there's like a few people on TikTok who are really good at documenting their like abroad experience or like, yeah. And it's like you are in this game of visa of figuring out your visa situation. And I would say like when you do start your journey, like look for the other options as well. Like of course, like finding a job, having company sponsor you is the easiest and just like it feels like the least resistant. But it's like maybe you were meant to like be an entrepreneur in France. I don't like a or like a freelancer in Spain. Like I don't know. So it's like, I think also find your step one and then like what are your like backup options?
Or maybe go
And
back to
so
school, which nobody likes to hear, but there are other
yeah, someone and I
options.
said no. Yeah, but a master's program if you're there, like, and if you're doing that in Europe, chances are it's free and you just have to pay for your accommodations and whatever else. But um yeah, so I would say I wish I would have looked up those a little bit beforehand because I could have been working on some things while I was still employed. But everything happens the way it happens. So
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
Hi Blair. Blair's gonna be on my channel in a few weeks. Um,
oh, exciting.
Brown Girls Invest Too says if you've heard of it or have a few hours to research it, you can do it. That is so true.
It's so, so true. It's so true. Yeah. Um,
Oh, hi,
yeah.
you were marketing
I
too.
think Jasmine asked, is I don't, your background is specialized, but I didn't catch your role. I'm a materials developer or yeah, like a fabric developer.
Jasmine also said you're speaking language, lol. Seeking promotion all the time is not necessarily the way. I'd rather stay in my role, have extra time, not be up at 6 a.m. Listen,
Yeah.
speaking my language.
Yeah.
Listen, I got off the ladder a long time ago. People don't know that I'm off the ladder. But I'm,
Yeah.
listen, every time they want to give me a promotion, I decline. Every time they say like Kill, we really want you to like develop as a leader. Like we're gonna give you a small team. Absolutely not. For what? I don't want to do that.
That's so funny.
Manage people?
Yeah, I'm opposite where I'm like, yeah, I would love to manage people. I
Oh.
don't know if anyone knows how we became friends, but I literally forced her to be my friend.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, let's be
We talk.
friends.
If you guys haven't seen the interview I did with her, there's a video on my channel. We talk about how we met. I think we were both lost
And
going
late.
and late to a cooking class with a very scary French chef, pastry chef. Was
Yeah.
he French or was he like German but studied in France?
He was French and studied in Denmark and stayed in Denmark.
Yeah, he was so intimidating.
Yeah, he was nice.
No, he was. Are you kidding? Like he would come over. He would come over and like do it again. Like, or like with the, you don't remember this when I added the poppy seeds, but I didn't add the sesame seeds, and he's like, you've ruined this. You've ruined this.
That's
You
rough.
had
I
good
just remember him being
pictures.
like, "You just need to move faster."
Yeah, you kept
Or I
rushing me. First of all,
no, I you
you
were rushing me.
no, you were rushing me because he was rushing us because our
Oh,
team was slow. We were behind. That,
yeah. Just a couple of perfectionists, give me a break.
oh my god. But like it we had a ridiculous amount of pastries. We met each
Yeah,
other and
yeah.
it was a time. It was fun.
It was really fun.
We each got a giant box of pastries that
Yeah, I think I ate like 2. They were so sweet and so rich, and I was like, "This is
delicious
no."
but
Yeah.
unrealistic.
Yeah,
He
now
was
I'm,
a
like,
month
addicted.
early.
Now that acclimated me. Now I'm just, like, eating pastries every day, all day, and you guys, Danish butter is, like, the best thing I've ever tasted, so I'm just constantly eating butter.
It is good. What was that thing we used like a whole, it was like this big of butter. Was it cinnamon rolls? We were making
I
something
don't
where we had to like wrap the dough in a slab of butter.
oh, it's
So good.
wasn't that like a I don't know.
It
I
was
feel like
good.
we made so much more than I, like, asked for, you know? I was like, "Oh, I was here to make, like, one thing."
We walked home with like 30 pastries a piece. Like
It
it
was,
was
like, heavy.
ridiculous. It
It was,
was,
like,
yeah,
5 pounds or something, like, it was crazy.
it was ridiculous. It was so irresponsible to give out that many pastries.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Do you want more dough?" You guys,
Yeah,
"No, we're
he was
all
like, you can
traveling.
take
You don't
dough
want the
home.
dough?"
I
Yeah.
was, I was like, to do what with? Like,
It's gonna take me, like, at least a month to eat these pastries.
no. Anyways, let's get back
Yeah,
on topic.
yeah.
Um, okay, so this is a question. I'm not going to ask a specific number, but over here in America, we get paid a lot. A lot of people are concerned, not me, but a lot of people are concerned that if they get hired in Europe, that they have to take a significant pay cut. How did you negotiate your salary and also your benefit package? Like, do you mind sharing what your benefit package look like?
I actually don't remember their benefits package now because I did this, like, almost 3 months ago, or
Okay.
maybe 2.5. But I remember it just being, like, as per usual, like, dental and workout money and
But like, no, but I want to talk about, are there any perks? Because so like, in the US we only get like 10 days of vacation.
oh my
And like,
listen, we just don't function that way.
right.
Like, in Canada, if the first, like, you will always get 2 to 3 weeks. I think you always get 3 weeks vacation per year. At my last company, because I was there for so long, I ended at 5 weeks vacation. And I'm just, like, not at the point in my life where I can accept any less.
Period.
Um, and they yeah, so when it came to negotiation, yes, the pay is less than what you would get in North America. Um, However, cost of living is different. So I think that went into my like, that's I obviously use cost of living to determine, like, can I afford to take this job? Is kind of what it was coming down to.
Mm,
Um, So it's like I still have Canadian expenses, so those things need to be, of course, taken care of. And can I live comfortably? Because we are very much past that. Um, and what are the taxes for the country? Taxes are less. Where I'll be living is cheaper. Um, and of course I need to go home. At first I'll have to go home like a couple times a year, and then eventually once, and then I'm sure I'll get to the point where I'll just be like, I'm literally not going because I don't feel like flying for 13, 14 hours.
mm.
But I need to make sure I can afford to go home sometimes. um, and so I took those all into consideration, and I was very transparent. Like, I didn't treat it as this, like, Wolf of Wall Street kind of situation. I very much was just like, um, I actually like can't afford to take this job. Or like I can't afford to take, like I still have expenses in Canada. So I was just fully transparent. I wasn't trying to ask for like an exuberant amount of money. You know, if I wanted to do that, then the smart thing to do would be move to the States, you know? Um, and yeah, so, and I think like you can kind of take in the cultural norms when you are negotiating. And this is actually something I just noticed. I didn't like learn it until after, but Sweden is very much like it's a discussion. Like everything is just a discussion. So I just had to like voice like my reasons and what I needed, um, and it was just like it took a long time, but they needed the skill set, and I, you know, just need like a reasonable salary. And I think we came to an agreement that was good for both of us. And I think as time goes, I'll just like continue to see where it leads. And um, yeah, and I think like I got really lucky with other things too. You know, like finding a place again. Like the rent was a discussion. Like I just was honest, and I was like, I don't think I can afford this, but would you be able to go to this amount? And um, yeah, I think that's when you can kind of take in all these like cultural norms so that you're like appropriately presenting your case to these hiring managers. And it's not so scary as what everyone thinks it is. I know that it can be like uncomfortable, but if they want you and it's like and it's reasonable, or even if it's not reasonable, honestly, if it was an American company, I would just like I wouldn't even care. I would just ask for what I want. Like, you know, because the dynamic is different and the culture is different. You can be a little bit more like bold and spearheading what you want. And um but yeah, just like speak to what you need. And um I think when I'm a little bit more experienced in knowing what companies can offer. So um, there's other things that you can ask for if it's not money, whether it might be like stock options or more vacation, or um, maybe you want to like progress quickly into a manager. Like, what will that look like? So it's like, other than money, like what is something that like you want
Hmm.
that will be a benefit of that to them, and can potentially subsidize what you're not making. So
Yeah.
yeah, I say go for it, negotiate. Even if like it's what you need, negotiate anyways. It's
You
a
should
good skill to flex.
always negotiate. Even
Yeah, and
even if they're
like
paying
just why
more.
not?
Why not? Always
Yeah,
negotiate. Doesn't matter what number they throw at you. Say, do you have more?
yeah. Simply, do you have more for me? Thank you so much.
No. Because I'm worth it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think like, you know, like believe in yourself. It goes down to like knowing that you can do anything. Just believe in yourself and like know that you like, you know, chances are you're like a very responsible person, and um, you just have to show up and do that. And I think I think it's all fine. You know, like you said, it's like an assimilation. So it's like, why not try? Like literally in everything, just like why not try? If even if they say no, even if you get rejected from a job, I'm just like, that's one more person I met. That's like one step closer
Yeah.
to
Because
what I'm getting.
a no is just a no, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not
it's
it's
not deep.
off your yeah, it's not deep. We are
Yeah.
winding down. If you guys have any questions for Alicia, please drop them in the comment section. Put a Q in front of them. Um, I'm going through my questions now. Hmm.
Oh my god, all the pastry talk.
I know I see all the
It's,
pictures.
it
Listen,
sounds like puff pastry where you have to laminate the dough with butter. Literally,
I think that
literally.
was Eileen. I actually think that's what we did. We had a lot of puff
Yeah,
pastry.
yeah, it was great. It was great.
Denmark has really good pastries.
Yeah, like I will definitely miss the pastries and the butter. And for food, that's probably it. Oh, and bread, butter, and cheese. If anyone goes to Denmark and they love bread, butter, and cheese, like it's called a BMO. It's like so good.
Sounds good. So, I mean, I guess we kind of answered this already. How has this journey kind of changed your perspective about your career, about life, about goals?
Yeah, I feel like you have to kind of, sorry, um, you have to kind of let go. Control is not your friend when you are embarking on something like this. But I think ebbing and flowing is is it will be your friend.
Mm,
Um, and I think in general, like I've really realized, like even if something's like in chaos or unstable, not stable, or whatever you're sort of like navigating through, it will be okay no matter what. I remember just like having so many moments of feeling so stressed out and like not knowing like where the path is going to lead, like truly living in uncertainty. And and I really tried to do my best just to like enjoy the roller coaster ride and like know that this time may not come again. Um, and I think like having to endure all of these experiences just like makes you a calmer, like more like maybe well-rounded person. At least for me, like I don't need everything to be a certain way anymore. So now I'm like, okay, like there's just different ways of doing things, and I'm like, I feel like I'm much more like empathetic towards other situations, and we don't all have it figured out, and I think as long as you are staying true to yourself, that is the best thing that you can do if, in general. Just like stay true to yourself, like be persistent, and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think like, as like I've had definitely moments of just being like, oh my gosh. But
it all worked
and
out.
surround yourself with good people. Like put yourself out there. Like there's literally people I met like on the street, like girlfriends that I met literally going out for a walk and going to yoga, and um, who I'm still friends with and who have just like come along for the journey with me. So I think like building your community as fast as you can when you get to your new country is like so, so important. And I think like without all of the connections I've made, it would have been so much harder. And that's like the biggest, like, that's the only thing I will truly, truly miss from Denmark. It's the people that I've met, and the friendships I've made, and like even just like the connections with recruiters, and I don't know, like the barista at the local coffee shop. Like I think those are like the people and experiences that I'll definitely miss, but will cherish for sure.
Yeah. Well, that was beautiful. I feel like that's a great place to end. If
Mhm.
y'all have any more questions, um, I have more questions, but I really think you summed everything up so nicely. I just want to say, as your friend and as somebody bearing witness to you on this journey, I'm extremely proud of you. I know exactly
Oh,
what you had, and I commend you, your perseverance, your determination, your courage to get out there and put yourself out in front of people. Even coming on my channel and doing this interview, I know when we talked the first time, you were like very shy and like hesitant, and but even coming on this channel and like making yourself available to have this conversation, because I think a lot of people are interested in living abroad but just don't know a path forward. But like you putting information out here, you answering these questions is huge, and I thank you so much for even coming.
yeah. Thanks for having me. Just another experience to have. And it's like I wouldn't have this experience if I didn't if I didn't decide to move. So I'm very lucky.
Yes, that's beautiful. Um, so yeah, let's wrap it up, everybody. If you are catching us on the replay, please like the video. Drop down in the comment section, where would you work and live if you could live anywhere? I hope after this interview you have realized that it's not as difficult as you probably think it is. Alicia gave us a lot of really great tips about finding work abroad, living abroad, working abroad. I'm going to put our other discussion in the description of this video so you can see us talk more about Denmark and her experience living there. And yeah, everybody, peace out. Enjoy your weekend. Happy New Year. I have a lot of
Happy
great
New Year.
Happy New Year. I have a lot of great content coming on the channel this month. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, click the notification button. And peace out.
Bye, everyone.